Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of the Discussioneers. I'm BB Quasar, also known as Matt. I'm joined today with a Bryce Reed, also known as Bryce, a Kitten, also known as Nate, and Kurry, also known as Kurry.
He is usually known like that.
I was getting worried for a second.
What do people call me behind my back?
Everybody, welcome. This is our third episode. We are going to be discussing more Unearthed Arcana stuff, heading more back in time to discuss today the Bard College of Eloquence and the Paladin Oath of Heroism. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
You sure did.
Good job, me. So, yeah. Stay tuned, of course. After we do our main discussion, we will hop into that bonus action where we open the floor to any and all sorts of questions, random stuff, and just whatever we feel like it. But without further ado, let's jump into this week's Unearthed Arcana discussion. It's nice that we only have 2 to discuss, so our main topic here might be a tad on the shorter side.
We might actually stay within an hour.
Let's hope. So, getting started, we have the College of Eloquence Bard. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about that, Bryce?
So the College of Eloquence Bard is a interesting one. It's one of the let's see what with the previous Unearthed Arcana we had, which was interesting, was something that was actually really close to this one. The College of Satire being kind of like the similar sort of scope of this isn't necessarily a magical thing like you have like College of Lore or something that's martial like College of Swords or like these specific almost like grabbing from other classes. The College of Eloquence is one of the like actual like solid like bard mute like performer type subclasses. And to start, we have Universal Speech at 3rd level. You gain the ability to speak and reason with any creature. As your bonus action, you can use one of your bardic inspirations. When you do so, you roll it, choose a number of creatures within 60 feet of you that can see you, or that you can't see, rather. For 10 minutes, those creatures can magically understand you, regardless of the language you speak. And you have advantage in charisma checks to influence them. This works even on a creature that doesn't speak any language.
Well, look at that. An ability that bypasses the need for language proficiencies.
Not necessarily, because it says like they can understand you, but you still can't understand them.
Oh, true. I guess that's a fair point. That's a fair point.
But the interesting thing about mechanically on this, it's nice being able to be understood, because there are certain spells that require understanding, as we've had issues with the bards of our own games, where if something doesn't know your language, or if it can't, hear you, then you run into some complications.
True.
There are certain charm spells and whatnot that do require them to understand your language. And on top of that, the advantage on charisma checks means you have the effects of the Friends spell for an entire 10 minutes, and it doesn't say that they know. It doesn't specifically state that they know you've used magic on them. Unlike the Friends spell, which becomes problematic because after that brief, use of it, they're well aware that you just fucked with them.
What's interesting, the combat implications here are slim. I think the only example you touched on before I got a chance to was the fact that there are some spells in the game that require the target to be someone that can understand you. I think there's even some class abilities out there, so if you're like our multi-classer, I think they... Don't quote me on that one, though. But regardless, like, other than that, which is, I would say, an unlikely combination, even though a possible one, this is purely just like an out-of-combat sort of thing. Not necessarily a bad thing, just pointing that out there.
Like many other things, you're using your bardic inspiration for something different. That's kind of a typical thing for bards.
Mm-hmm.
They're in those sort of lines. They're like druids that have much of the similar sort of pool that they pull from.
Yeah, and it can definitely be used to like keep you out of combat, though. So,
True.
In that respect, it is saving you resources for fights.
True. Depending on the situation.
Who really knows? Yeah, exactly. Who really knows how many times you come into contact with somebody who doesn't speak Common or any other language you speak, and you get into a fight purely because they have no idea what you're trying to say to them. For all they know, you're
And-
yelling, "Come at me, bro!" And
Or like, to your left, you're in a cavern and there's demons, and on the right, there's devils, and you're in the middle, and you need to converse with one side. There you go.
it never happens though. So
Or you come
No.
across like an ooze, and
True.
the thing doesn't fucking speak, but you can now talk to it and
Yeah,
tell it to
that's
go
true.
ooze somewhere else. On top of this, isn't a charm. It doesn't state this is a charm of any kind. So elves and things, you can also gain advantage on trying to influence them, which
Mhm.
otherwise is usually pretty much impossible. So
Those stuck-up elves.
useful. Yeah. On top of that, for a third level, you get Soothing Words. You can now cast Calm Emotions without expanding a spell slot. You use this equal to your Charisma modifier, regaining all these on a long rest. Pretty
Calm
good.
Emotions, is that a second level spell? If
I
memory
think it's
serves?
second level. Let
Okay.
me double check. It's not a first level spell. So I'm looking at. I think you can. I want to say it is a second level spell, which I think you can cast at third level Bard.
I think you are correct.
So you're not getting anything above your normal spellcasting class, but being able to have on average, based on like the stats we usually roll, 3 to 5 at most uses of Calm Emotions for free,
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Just for the sake of argument here, and so people don't need to listen necessarily, look it up if you're not familiar with the spell. The Calm Emotion spell is you attempt to suppress strong emotions in a group of people. Each humanoid in a 20-foot radius sphere centered on a point you choose within range must make a charisma saving throw. A creature can choose to fail the saving throw if it wishes. A creature that fails at saving throw, choose one of the two following effects. You can suppress any effect causing the target to be charmed or frightened, which that alone is huge. Being able to stop, people being dominated by various spells. When the spell ends, blah, blah, blah. And alternatively, you can make a target indifferent about creatures of your choice that it is hostile toward. This indifference ends if the target is attacked or harmed by a spell, or if it witnesses any of its friends being harmed. When that spell ends, the creature becomes hostile again, blah, blah, blah. So basically, the spell is one of those spells that has multiple uses, and both are pretty good. Again, being able to end some sort of charmed effect or something like, I think, and I really hope I'm not wrong on this, but the dominate spells, like dominate person or dominate monsters, those are considered charmed, right?
I'm fairly certain, like 90%.
I should probably do my research
I'm
on that.
going to double check, but I want to say you are correct on that.
Because those spells out the gate are some of the very strongest ones that I can think. The target is charmed, so yeah. So a second level spell that is essentially able to cancel out, a 5th level dominate person or even an 8th level dominate monster. Pretty good. And then of course the other thing is if used correctly, you can, similar to its previous ability on 3rd level, try to avoid a fight. You can just make everybody indifferent with one another. If all your targets, if there's more than one, fail to save, they're all going to be indifferent, and you can just essentially stop a combat.
And we've also seen this be used very effectively in like mid to nearing like high level play in your game. Sure. By Zeph. It's very easy for in cities and stuff to be able to do crowd control quite literally. If some shit's going to go down, you can just choose a group and be like, calm the fuck down, everything's fine.
Yeah, it's definitely a useful spell, and like you said, having access to this early,
and for free.
Well, not for free in the sense of there's no spell slots, but yeah, I mean, at 3rd level, your charisma as a bard is 16, 18 average, maybe even 20. So that's effectively 3 to 5 second level spells that you just get every
and keep
day.
in mind, how many times are you really gonna? The reason I say free is how many times are you gonna cast Calm Emotions within one day, right? I feel like at most like once or twice, right? You're gonna need that specific spell. So if you can cast it up to 3 to 5 times, that's
but
basically just having it for free.
If you do need to multiple times, you have that option, and you're not using any spell slots. So.
Yeah,
I can easily see this ability becoming a DM killer. I shouldn't say DM killer, but a DM's bane, because of all the free uses you have, your player is going to be more apt to use this ability, and therefore, when your party / this bard really wants to avoid a combat encounter, even if the creatures or
3,
the targets
4
are succeeding.
times.
You just could keep
Yeah.
plopping this down up to 3 or 4 times before it finally takes hold, and then then your enemies are indifferent and everybody's happy. You move along your way. Like this could be this could be used very effectively. This and the previous ability to just bypass or just negate combat encounters
Obviously,
entirely.
late game less so as you start getting into more and more creatures that are immune or resistance to charms,
Right,
or
that's
even
a
just
big
magic in
thing.
general. But like for that mid to like early to mid game, that's really good.
Yep, I agree.
6th level, you have Undeniable Logic. You can spin words laced with magic into a knot of reasoning that can be encouraging or impossible to follow. Bonus action you expend when your bardic inspirations. When you do so, you choose a creature within 60 feet of you and roll bardic inspiration and choose one of the following. You can either take psychic damage equal to the number you roll on your die, and then must succeed on an intelligence saving throw, or have disadvantage on the next saving throw it makes before the end of your next turn. So you can gain the benefit of this yourself. Or the creature regains hit points equal to the number you roll, and has advantage on the next saving throw they make for the end of your next turn.
Damn. Can I
Both
just say
very,
damn?
very good.
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah.
This, compared to some of the other abilities, I would say the most comparable thing is to the cutting words from the College of Lore early on, being able to modify additional things, especially like enemies. But my issue with this is you compare this to the 6th level abilities, and I don't think a lot of them are as up to snuff. I mean, ignoring like College of Swords is kind of basic, like you get extra attack, and that's all you get. Same with College of Valor. This
So you
is
think
too
it's that strong?
well, only because you have the option of 2 different things. That one, it's guaranteed psychic damage. There's no saving throw, and eventually your bardic inspiration is at this level your bardic inspiration is a D8, which then will eventually go up to a D10, then a D12.
Mm-hmm.
You can just for free be getting out a good amount of damage, and it's basically just a buffed version of cutting words, right? Because aside from it's not attack roll, it's a saving throw.
Saving throw is cutting words only the next roll?
Cutting
'Cause-
words is it's a saving throw. On a fail, you take a D4 of psychic damage and
Right.
have disadvantage on the next attack roll.
Okay,
you
so
make.
it is the next attack roll. Because I was gonna
Yeah.
say, yeah, granted, yeah, it's you get the advantage or disadvantage. It is only on the next one though. So I mean, very good chance that you aren't doing anything still with this.
It's mostly, in most cases, gonna be something you're setting up an ally to do.
Right,
But I mean, if you're in a party with other casters of sorts, I mean, that's
Yeah.
gonna get used
of course.
pretty frequently.
Yeah, but I mean, keep in mind, like,
especially like if you're stacking this with you're concentrating on Bane, you stack disadvantage with Bane.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
they're not going to
That's-
succeed at saving throw.
there's some
You're
there's some
gonna-
synergies on that that could
Yeah,
work really well.
you can really make that boss monster that nobody can hit.
Mhm.
Really susceptible to spells.
Yeah, I
And
mean, if you're thinking of stacking and stuff like that, whenever I look at a ability, I try to look at it by itself.
Think of
But-
it like this, though. It's a bonus action to activate, guaranteed damage, no matter what. They're going to be taking a D8
Mhm.
upwards of a D12 of psychic damage.
But since that doesn't stack, that's not that big of an issue. It's gonna be good
But-
early on, but
If they fail the saving throw, they have disadvantage on the next saving throw they make, which this is a bonus action. You can then action
Right. Oh,
cast
that's
oh
true.
shit!
on your
Cast.
own
How
turn.
did I miss that?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
You're
what
right.
we're saying.
Yeah, this is my thought process. Is you can on your own turn gain
Yeah.
the benefit immediately.
Wow, I
Very
can't
true.
believe I didn't fucking interpret it. That's insane. Wow.
It's pretty fucking good. And as well, like even being able to like that by itself would be a good ability. Then also having the option to heal an ally for a D8 upwards of a D12 and give them advantage on the next saving throw. Now, to be
think-
fair, when it comes to
yeah.
players, they might not make a saving throw in that entire
Right.
round or two. But
yeah, I think
still,
that's definitely the weaker of the two.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
again, I'm trying to think of like how many hit points like Tarek had at 6th level. Is 4 HP really? I mean,
I
guess
think a D8 of
maybe.
healing
Yep,
within
from being down.
I guess yeah. I was gonna say if you're unconscious, yeah, 100%.
Keep in mind, this is a
But it's
60-foot
bonus action,
range.
you're not-
It's Bonus
You're-
action, 60-foot range heal, so it's like a really good healing word.
Yeah. And
Which-
you're not expending. Oh no, you are expending a use of bardic inspiration. So
Not a spell slot,
but not a spell slot.
but not a
yeah.
spell slot, right? But I mean, it's your juice, your bardic inspiration. So,
yeah, and
so you
keeping
are
in
giving up-
mind that you have 2 abilities, which I think is a little abnormal. I'd want to double check.
you're right.
I think most subclasses for bards don't expend their bardic inspiration on more than one thing. They usually get like one additional thing, like that. Either they have cutting words or blade flourish,
Yeah.
right?
I think
So
you're
this is
right.
like you're definitely like leaning really heavily into these bardic inspirations if you're going to go through them quickly, which I feel like
No,
is
that's not
kind of the
true.
purpose.
I just, for an example, pulled up College of Lore, and obviously that's the one that you were referencing that has cutting words. Granted, it's not till later on, till 14th level, but I mean, with a College of Lore bard, they can use their bardic inspiration to add to an ability check after you make the ability. Basically, it's
I see.
it's a way to do it where you make the ability check
With
and you're
your
like, oh,
own
that's not great.
inspiration.
Then I'm going to use it rather than
So not unheard of.
yeah.
But yeah, I don't. It seems like if you glance around some of the other 6th-level abilities, I feel like this is really good. I don't know if it's necessarily like broken. I think definitely being able to use your own advantage or their disadvantage.
Yeah,
on
that
saving
is
throws
huge.
great.
I didn't. I'm the same as
Yeah.
Matt. I
Gross.
didn't really
No,
think of it
like-
like that.
So far, this seems like the least broken Unearthed Arcana class that they've come out with so far.
You think so?
You think?
I think so.
Huh.
I think so.
Interesting.
Like out of most of these, like this is the one that I'm like, this actually might make it into the book.
like as is, you mean,
Might
without
get
any
As
published.
is,
any
yeah, without
changes?
any changes, yeah.
Possibly.
Interesting.
I mean, I'm curious to talk about the 14th ability, which we're gonna do here in a second. But I mean, for the most part, like that 6th level ability is undoubtedly strong, especially when you can, like you said, bonus action and then possibly, depending on that failed save, be able to take advantage of that immediately on your own saving throws. But I mean, you look at the 1st level ability and like those are cool stuff, but like that's
Not
really
huge at later levels.
right. Exactly. So it's a bigger
14th
power spike at 6th level, but let's see how that 14th level stacks up.
Yeah, 14th level, you get Infectious Inspiration, which I think this is a fucking amazing ability. When a creature adds one of your Bardic Inspiration dice to its ability check, attack roll, or saving throw and fails, they keep the Bardic Inspiration. Already by itself, pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, when a creature adds one of your Bardic Inspiration to the dice, to its ability check, blah, 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 the roll succeeds, you can use your reaction to encourage a different creature other than yourself within 60 feet of you that can hear you, giving it a Bardic Inspiration die without expending one of your inspiration uses. You can use this reaction number of times equal to your charisma modifier and regain this on a long rest.
I think the without expending the bardic inspiration is huge because of the fact that you have these. So yeah, Matt, you were right. At 14th level for the lore bard, you get another option, but that's not until 14th level. Whereas
Right.
at 6th level, when you don't have, like
You're burning through these quickly.
Exactly, and you're
And
a
then
lot more
14th level
limited.
kind of counteracts that. You get the ability to I feel like the idea behind this is you're going to use up your bardic inspirations, like your real ones, to deal damage, heal, put those status effects. And then your actual inspiration is going to come from the infectious, where you just got to plop one, and then
Yeah.
it'll either sit there or you can start spreading it around.
My thoughts is exactly that. My thoughts, obviously we don't know because we're not the designers, we don't work at Wizards, but is the fact that
Speak for
since
yourself.
because they are putting so much emphasis on that level 6 ability, which can be incredibly strong, it allows you to take advantage a little bit of your normal uses of bardic inspiration, just for the sake of, like you said, you use one to plop it down, which has a really high chance to either linger on that particular person or spread to other people, while you can still use your remaining bardic inspirations dice to do the level 6 undeniable logic ability and try to get yourself an advantage or a disadvantage on a spell that you're lobbing off. So pretty good.
Yeah. So I mean, overall, I feel like this is one of the stronger bards now. I don't think it's necessarily the most interesting, but I think it's one of the most useful, just because I feel like you're not getting a lot of different, like everything is based around your bardic inspiration, and you're whatever you're doing is something to do with that, and then the rest of it's just your base bard stuff, right? You're not getting any, like, I would argue major like new abilities that are based off of like other resource pools or other like effects, right?
I mean, I agree with you to an extent, but I also disagree in the sense that, I mean, you compare it to a lot of other bards out there. I mean, it's some subclasses, you know, you get a lot more juice out of them when in other classes, period, just because there's more tiers, right? Bards have only 3 things that they ever get from their. Is it 3? Yeah, 3 things that they ever get from their subclass, whereas other classes may get 4 or 5. So you don't get as much juice to kind of flavor into it. Now, what I will say is, you know, you compare it to some of the more commonly used bards, which some of them just will flat out just get a generic ability. Like, for instance, the College of Swords just gets extra attack at 6th level, which is something we see at like the fighter or the monk or the barbarian. Like there is just some boring options out there. The 3 things you're getting from this particular bard are all unique things that you don't see anywhere else, and you have a cool new little playstyle that really fits within the bard character of just being able to like avoid encounters and have a really good chance to just make everybody chill while you move on. You know, like I actually think it's pretty interesting. I don't know if I agree with Kurry so much as it's not broken. I think at first I did, but I think in play that undeniable logic ability might be pretty strong because bards get a lot of spells that can manipulate your enemy's minds and do all sorts of crazy stuff. So forcing disadvantage is pretty strong, but maybe I'm wrong. Who knows? That'd have to be something play tested. But my opinions is I think it's got some cool flavor. I think it does more to the flavor than any other subclass that any other bards do.
I definitely think flavor-wise, this is probably one of my favorite bards now, because I feel like this is the most bard we have seen a bard subclass. Like the others seem very, I would argue like College of Lore, especially obviously is like kind of scholarly. College of Swords and stuff, like it doesn't. Obviously, bards are bards; they're all performers and stuff to some extent. But I feel like Eloquence is the most we've seen, like how I would imagine like a typical bard versus, you know,
Yeah.
Lore is dipping into wizards, Swords is obviously dipping into like fighter, Valor is very, very close to Swords. I'm still unsure on what their logic was behind that.
What's your final thoughts, Nate?
I agree with Bryce where I think this is the most bardy bard that there is. I'm surprised there's still no like actually musical focused bard class. Like
Well, I figure this one is more like an interpretive dance type, since you can like talk to everything and anything. That's how it's actually
I
communicating.
see. Yeah.
That's so true, actually. That's
Yeah.
Oh man, I can see a character like that now, just an interpretive dance bard. That's
I see this guy as being the filibuster. Like his calm
Yeah,
emotions,
he's,
he
like,
just
in
stands there and
debate.
talks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So overall, I think pretty good. One of the better ones out of all the subclasses we've reviewed so far.
cool.
Would be my argument.
I
Excellent.
like
Wow, look at that. We got a subclass done within 30 minutes, guys.
I'm really proud
Wow.
of us all.
We're on
hot
schedule.
our mark. Yeah, let's ruin it now with Paladin, which has a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
30 different things you get.
So we have Oath of Heroism, which just off the bat, I love the name. Paladin subclasses are some of my favorite, just based on the flavor of them by themselves.
Well, again, like I mentioned before, some classes get 3 or 4 options, or 3 options. Some get 4 or 5. Paladins get, I think, 4. So there's a lot more room to add that juice.
4 and spells. They get extra spells.
Oh, yeah, and extra divinity options. So technically, there's 5 different things you're getting from each of your Paladin oaths. So
Do we want to go over the tenets? Because that's just flavor stuff, but I guess maybe that's...
Yeah, I wouldn't bother with the tenants.
I feel like we're kind of more worried about the mechanical stuff.
Go over that yourselves.
Be a hero.
Short, the Oath of Heroism is, as you'd expect from the name, it is all about being heroic and, you know, standing up in the front of things. So going down the list of spells, I just actually realized this says Oath of Conquest spells. Is that accurate on
the thing
document?
that you're using? I think they fucked that up word wise. I don't think the actual document says.
I'm gonna go off the PDF just in case. So Oath of Heroism spells. Third level, you get Expeditious Retreat and Guiding Bolt. Expeditious Retreat being kind of interesting because name-wise, it's not what you'd expect.
Yeah, but that's Yeah.
But
I'm
mechanically, it
retreating
works.
to the front line. Yes.
Yeah,
I think it's just more so the mechanics of the spell versus the actual. I mean, because the
For sure.
heroism paladin, I don't know if you touched on, is just you are a hero, the classic hero trope. That's what you follow. But I think Expeditious Retreat, while the name is the exact opposite, the fact that you get the bonus action dash, which is what the spell gives you, allows you to
you
run
get where you
into
need
battle.
to be quick.
Yeah, exactly. So yes,
Unless
but
you
it is
really wanna
there
be
is some
playing-
irony there.
Unless you really want to be playing like a Don Quixote kind of guy, charging at windmills and all that.
And Guiding Bolt is just solid. 5th level.
Well, solid is the fact that I don't think this is Guiding Bolt's a cleric only spell. So seeing that in any other class, always just like whoa,
That's a solid ranged ability for a paladin.
whoa, yeah. Anyway,
5th level, we have Enhance ability, which is usually pretty good. I mean, you're getting advantage on whatever you want, basically, which can include initiative, as I recall, which is huge.
yeah,
And Enthrall, which is an interesting one for this subclass. I believe Enthrall is, as an action, you can cause a creature to make a saving throw. If they fail, they are basically just entranced on you, and as long as you keep using your action to maintain it, they basically can't do anything else.
So
Which
yeah,
is
Because
it's
they struggle to perceive stuff.
you take the hone the body like tenet, so you got like abs of steel, and then you're just like thrusting your hips around. They're just enthralled by your amazing
Yep, you're like Conan the Barbarian.
cheese
just
grating
like-
double ads. Yeah.
yep.
9th level, we get haste. That's ridiculous. And protection from energy,
Yeah.
which is also very, very good.
Haste
Both
is not
amazing
normally a paladin
spells.
spell, right?
None of these
No,
are
not,
paladin
no.
spells.
Very specifically, haste is a support, like for wizards and stuff, because it's not meant to be on guys who can use it themselves, because that's big for martial classes.
Yeah, that's
So-
crazy. That's a crazy.
Usually, you have
good
to depend
ability.
on your wizard or your cleric or whatever to like give you haste as a martial character.
Or your
You can just-
artificer.
Sure, I guess.
Sure, maybe.
Eh.
Hey, we can actually in a future episode of this podcast, we can talk about the artificer that'll be released in the upcoming Ebron book. So keep that.
Yeah, I
keep
won't be
an
able
eye
to
Oh,
be
yeah,
on
that's
that
the
week.
Oh,
Sorry.
fuck. We need you though. Sorry. Tangent.
Protection of Bounty is pretty simple. It's just you have resistance to an elemental type, which is nice. 13th level, Compulsion and Freedom of Movement. Compulsion is a spell I actually don't know much about.
Either.
And Freedom, both of those are spells I have this
level
issue where
spell.
once you reach a certain level of spell, I'm not like as familiar, which I feel like
come
is
on,
pretty
wizard.
standard for a lot of people. Well, I've never played like 5th level and below. I've got a good grasp on everything above. I don't even like. There's names that come up. I'm like, that's a spell, which is baffling considering how long I've been playing. Compulsion, creature your choice. Yeah, I'm aware. Within range of 30 feet that can hear you must make a wisdom saving throw. They succeed if they can't be charmed. On a failed save, they are affected by the spell, and you can use your bonus action to designate a direction horizontal to you. They must use as much of their movement as possible to move in that direction. It can use its action before it moves. After moving, it makes another saving throw. That's not great. It's a 4th level spell that
Yeah.
just lets you choose where they move when there's things like fears, which will accomplish the same thing. I assume the flavor is you can compel them to come to you, right? As the hero, you're like drawing them away from someone else and towards you.
Yeah. That's
It
probably
also
what they're going
does
for.
state that they can't be compelled to move into a hazard target, or a deadly hazard, but it will provoke opportunity attack. So
Oh,
Ooh.
so now that's the
That's pretty
big thing
good.
for that spell, I guess, is you can just like drag them across your party and force all
Yeah.
these saving or these attacks opportunity. Okay, now I kind of get it. Freedom of movement. You touch a willing creature. They aren't affected by difficult terrain, other magical effects that reduce their speed. Interesting. Or that would make them paralyzed or restrained, which is pretty big. So they just can't be paralyzed. And they can spend 5 feet of movement to escape from any non-magical restraints, such as manacles or a grapple. And being underwater imposes no penalties on their movements or attacks. So pretty good. Definitely, I don't think that's as like major as the haste and protection of energy, but those are both very useful. And then you have 17th level Commune and Conjure Volley, which is an interesting one for this one as well. So Commune is going to be your 5th level spell. You contact your deity and ask up to 3 questions, which are yes or no. receiving correct answers if available. Your typical kind of divination thing, which is always nice.
Mhm.
Conjure Barrage is peculiar for this class though, because that is primarily a kind of a ranged caster thing, and
So it's a ranger
is
only
a
spell.
ranger spell.
Yeah.
You fire a single piece of non-magical ammunition, which can be a thrown weapon. And it just duplicates, becomes a 40-foot radius, 20-foot high cylinder on a single point. I guess so. I think the way I understand it is basically like the 300 where they shoot up and then it comes down in a cylinder.
Yep.
They take 8d8 damage on a failed save, or half as much on a successful save.
All right, I was put up
Which
some.
is really, really good for paladins who normally have a very weak range attack.
That's
so
true.
that's like why they're filling that hole, because I feel like normally when there's like playtests and they do ask a lot of questions, one thing that I see a lot on the forums is my paladin can do nothing at range except throw a javelin.
The barbarians run into that same problem.
Yeah.
I
is
hit
that
things really
necessarily a
good,
bad
but as soon as
thing?
things are far from me,
Is
There are
it a bad thing
few-
though? That's what your class is made to do. Your class is made to be there
on the front line.
in
Yeah.
front of them.
But then there's lots of encounters that if you have a paladin in your group, you don't want to run because you know your paladin's going to be doing nothing.
Yeah.
They can't get into a
That's-
fight.
That
Like
sucks. That's
I've-
part of the game.
it sucks. But like
That's
I've had that in
specifically
my
why your
campaign.
DM designed the encounter that way.
That's I know, but like that sucks for you as when you have
Yeah.
players, and like if you're streaming, your paladin can't get into fights. You
You
know,
can't balance the game
I will-
around streamers though.
Oh,
I mean,
I will say
can.
though, it is nice to have. Keep in mind at maximum, because you're a paladin, you're only going to have a maximum of 2 5th level spells. So at most, you're going to be able to cast this twice.
That's
Yeah.
true.
And there's other 5th level spells you're going to want to cast.
Or
It
your
is
divine
nice to have a
smite.
ranged answer like that, or divine smite, being able to 5th level divine smite for.
Oh yeah,
for
could
base,
you can you throw? No, you can't. I was gonna. It's a.
I
it's a
think divine smite's melee only,
Yeah.
which I think is something we get wrong very
There is
often.
some type of smite that you can do on a ranged weapon. I'm pretty sure.
There are
but-
certain ones, yeah. So that's all your spells. I think that's a very solid lineup of spells. I don't think there's anything on there that I think's not that. The only thing that I think is weakest is Enthrall, is a spell I don't care for, but
Dude,
that's
you
just
get haste.
personal
I-
preference.
You
once,
get
once you
haste,
put
yeah.
haste in that list, like you should
oh
not.
my god! Wait, can you just divine smite more than once on a turn?
Yeah, yes, you can.
That's-
That's how
that's-
paladins
Oh fuck!
blitz.
Right. Oh, extra attack plus haste for all those
Mhm.
divine smites.
It
Oh
just
no!
takes one turn to set up, or if you know you're about to go into combat, you cast it right before yourself, and then you could essentially go in there and do the paladin Zerg, which is smiting
Go be
every
a
hit
hero.
and
That's
be,
rough.
be a hero. Yeah,
which
so
stacks incredibly well with the next ability.
Yeah,
Bryce.
so onto the actual abilities themselves. At 3rd level, you have your Challenge Divinity. You gain the following 2 options. Peerless Athlete. You can use your Challenge Divinity to augment your athleticism with Divine Favor. As a bonus action, you gain advantage on all strength athletics checks and acrobatics checks for the next 10 minutes. Kind of nice.
helps to
Legendary
escape grapples
Strike.
and stuff.
Yeah,
You can use
that's
your Challenge
interesting.
Divinity as a bonus action to guide your attacks. For 1 minute, your weapon attacks score a critical hit on 19 or 20.
So now you're a champion
Yep.
that's smiting twice as much critical damage.
Mhm.
That's awesome. That is
Ridiculous.
where I go. What? I'm hasting and I'm critting twice as much as I used to with
Yeah,
smites.
that's really scary to
Yeah.
give one class the ability to do. And it's
Yeah.
interesting to see because the critting on a 19 or 20 is not the first time we've seen it. Obviously, the champion fighter, which I think all of us agree is the most boring class or boring subclass in the game, takes advantage of this particular ability. Granted, they get a stronger version when they level up later on, but
This
It's not
is
something you
level
see-
3 paladin
Yeah.
getting this.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's you don't
Yeah,
see it very
it's-
often. But I am so cautious when throwing this on a paladin because when other classes, even a barbarian that gets access to something like this, like a fighter, makes the most sense because they don't usually get a lot of extra critical hit damage. But like you give it to a paladin who can smite and then therefore double their smite damage, and
And the fact that smite is chosen after you know the roll.
correct.
So
it's so
It's like a rogue being like sneak attack. Oh, but also I crit on a 19.
Yeah,
oh
That's-
yeah.
Yeah.
it's
And
Oh,
such
can you
a
imagine
scary
the
thing.
There's
dip?
a lot of paladins that specifically dip into fighter to get this because that's what they want to do, and this character. Doesn't need to dip into fighter at all.
But can you
Except for
imagine
Right.
dipping from Paladin, Fighter, Rogue? Fighter for the action surge, Rogue for the sneak attack, and then Paladin for this, where you have the crit on a 19 and Divine Smite, plus the haste with the action surge, yada yada.
When do you get your divinity back as a paladin? Is it a short rest like a
Short
cleric?
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can do this a lot. This is really strong. I don't know if I like this out of paladin. It's super strong, borderline OP in my opinion.
It's scary.
It's scary.
You know, depending on your luck, it might never come up in a fight, or you might get a bajillion crits during. Every hit could be,
Well,
that's
you know,
obviously
19 out of 20.
statistically,
That's a 10% chance. And when if you combine that with haste at a later level, or even when you're at 5th level and have extra attack, that's 10% of a chance twice or 3 times per turn. Or if you're a dual wield bard who can bonus action attack with his offhand, that could be 3 to 4. 10% chance to
you mean
crits.
Paladin?
Those classic dual wield
Yeah,
bards.
Paladin's
yeah, the classic dual
A
wield
lute,
bard.
and a trumpet.
I misspoke. I do want to talk a little bit about, as a reminder, about level dipping in the bonus action, because I have some words to say about that.
So moving on to level 7, you have Oath of Heroism for Mighty Deed. Your actions on the battlefield can supernaturally bolster your allies and demoralize your enemies. When you score a critical hit or reduce a creature's 0 hit points, you can choose one or more creatures you can see within 30 feet of you up to your Charisma modifier. All the chosen creatures are affected by one of the effects. They either gain temporary hit points equal to 1d6 plus your Charisma modifier, or must succeed on a Wisdom saving throw, or be frightened until the start of your next turn. Once you use this, though, you can't use it until the start of your next... Oh, never mind. Sorry, I thought this was... So once per turn, you get to use it at the start of your next turn. So there's not really a limit on that.
So the limit is if you crit, which obviously if you're you're in your divinity, it's a higher chance. So they're just adding more onto the
drops them to
scary.
0.
Yeah, the script paladin, the script. Wow, the crit paladin is just adding more and more on top of that. Granted, the temporary hit points, not that big of a deal. The frightened thing, I mean, frightened is useful because they have disadvantage against attacks against you and whatnot. But I find it interesting and a little hypocritical that you're a hero bard that is trying to induce cowardice into your enemies, or maybe that is on par. I don't know.
Paladin?
I keep saying bard for some reason. Fuck. Paladin.
The College of Heroism.
The College of Heroism, yes.
I think that this is pretty good. I think it's the shittiest 7th level Paladin ability
it's not
because if
that
you look
great.
at everything else,
But I mean, the
everyone
rest
else
of the
gets an
subclass should
aura.
be shit if you're gonna fucking
Yeah.
give a paladin crit
Yeah,
chance.
True.
Yeah, scale it
There
back
is
there
that.
a little bit.
Yeah. I love the flavor though. I like that you on the battlefield being this just like pillar of like a champion. Like when you strike someone down, you would drive a critical blow, your allies are emboldened, and then all the other enemies are like, fuck, I don't want to be near that guy.
Yeah, I mean,
Like
it
flavor wise, it's pretty good.
is pretty cool
Mechanically,
flavor wise.
yeah. 15th level, we have Glorious Defense. Your blessed glory of the battlefield can misdirect an attack. Again, it's just the oiled abbed hero on the battlefield.
This paladin, they forgot to mention in the 3rd level abilities, this paladin's not allowed to wear armor.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this also gets to where that legendary strike feature is even more broken.
Keep reading.
So
Bryce.
when a
Keep
creature
going,
you can
keep
see
going.
hits you with an attack roll, you can use your reaction to gain bonus to AC against the attack, potentially causing it to miss you, equal to your charisma modifier. If it misses, you make one weapon attack against the attacker as part of the action.
Man.
So a reaction. So it's another attack you get to
Giving
make.
you more hits with that divinity up, which in crucial fights are gonna plop it up. Might as well.
Yep.
Wow,
That's pretty good. Yeah. And then 20th level, Living Myth. You can now empower yourself with the legends, whether true or exaggerated, told of your great deeds. As a bonus action, you gain the following benefits for 10 minutes. You are blessed with otherworldly comeliness, gaining advantage on all charisma checks. It's not terrible.
RP.
Once on each of your turns, when you make a weapon attack and miss, you can cause that attack to hit instead.
At least they can't crit. This is
It's not a crit. If you fail a saving throw, you can use your reaction to succeed instead. You basically get a legendary resistance.
Jesus. Whoa.
Yep.
Now this is a level 20 ability, so we can't judge these ones too hard because at that point, you're god tier. I mean, there's other paladins that I think can like fly and do crazy shit. So
Well, keep in mind, like Oath of Conquest here, I just glanced at. You gain resistance to all damage for
Wow.
the 1 minute.
that's really good.
When you take the attack action, you make 1 additional attack, and you crit on a 19 or 20.
Oh,
So
yeah,
there is some like
there is
pretty
another
good
crit
trip
there.
levels.
Oh, I stand corrected in my previous statement. I retract. But that's they get that at level 20. Okay, let's put this out there.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah.
give this paladin that same ability at level 3. Wow.
Yep,
I don't like it.
for sure.
My final thoughts is I think it's overpowered, and I think they need to restructure it. But the problem is they're building this paladin around hitting a lot of times and having a high crit chance. But I think
Yeah.
you're already making one of the strongest classes in the game even stronger, and they're just going to outshine all your other martial characters who are going to feel like they're useless in your party. I think this needs a whole rework, in my opinion. This is one of the strongest subclasses I think they've put out in Unearthed Arcana, in my opinion.
I don't think it's as broken as Rune Knight, but this is pretty fucking powerful.
Yep.
Yeah, same. This is too much.
Yeah,
Too
it would be
really
so
cool
much fun
flavor.
to play. This is like a
of course
fun
it would
version
be.
of Champion. Well, yeah, it'd be fun just to kick ass,
Yeah.
But
Like one thing I might do to like counter this might be to like make it so they cannot wear armor and they get like their own. They have to like use their stuff for their defenses too to like counter out the fact that they're offensive based.
Maybe.
That's one thing I could make them more glass cannon of a paladin. That's
think-
how
yeah, that
I
would be kind of neat. Maybe like restrict like
counter
you
this.
can't use shields and stuff because you're a hero. You're supposed to be like a inspiring, right? So you're not
Yeah.
supposed to be seen behind like cowering behind a shield or some effect
Right.
like that.
use a great sword, no armor. That's it.
Yeah.
Just
Make
be a
you
barbarian,
dip into
basically.
barbarian. Make you dip into
It's
barbarian.
required.
You have to take
You
4
have
levels
to.
of barbarian to take this subclass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeez.
Yes, I think overall, we all pretty much agree this is pretty broken.
Well, what's Nate's final
Flavor-
thoughts? Don't skip over Nate. He's our friend too.
Yeah.
It's really strong, and I want to play it.
Why'd I even ask?
Yep.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Flavor wise, though, I mean, I like it.
It's okay
pretty-
flavor wise. It's like
It's pretty bland,
I'm
like
a
in that.
hero.
Yeah, it's just I'm the hero, but I
I-
dig the conquering the battlefield aspect of
But I
just
mean,
you are.
other
a
oaths
pillar.
can easily do that. I mean,
You're not wrong. I mean, there's definitely some other like conquering presence channel ability for the conquest is the same idea of you appear and terrify those around you.
yeah,
There's some cool abilities like that you wouldn't need to take this subclass for. I think this is literally just a upgraded version of Champion Fighter that
think,
can
yeah.
also choose to do an extra 3d6 damage.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
think
I'm
you're right.
making this a villain in my campaign.
Please
Just
don't. You hit me? Bah, 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 bah. He crit me 4 times as a
That's
reaction. Why?
Why?
All right. Well, we under an hour have covered the 2
We did it.
subclasses.
We hit a
I mean,
time. We hit a
did
timeline. We did it.
That's impressive. I mean, considering as well, part of that's like intro and stuff. Like, that's pretty. Well, that's the first time we've been on time.
Yeah, and I
Which
think
is
we did a
impressive.
good job, boys. Granted, it wasn't really so much our fault as it was the fact that this particular Unearthed Arcana only had 2 classes, where the previous ones we've done have been 3.
And one of them was pretty light.
Yeah, that's
Bard
true.
only
Bard.
had 3 to go over. And these weren't really that. We didn't have any like dissenting opinions on these. I feel like we were pretty much all on the same page. But
Right. It just the Bard is good. It's the Paladin is broken, and we all agree. So,
shall we go ahead and do the outro for the video and then move into bonus action?
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll do that. Why don't you go ahead and set us up for that?
Thank you for watching. Of course, if you're watching live here on Twitch, we'll be moving straight into bonus action, our second half talk show about just kind of general non-structured stuff. Where it sounds like we're going to be talking about dipping for multi-classing, which there's some strong opinions on that.
Yep.
But of course, if you want to watch more, we have the YouTube, which you might currently be on. Hi, hello. Where we're uploading these along with our other campaigns and live on twitch.tv/the_Dungeoneers at 6 p.m. EST Saturdays. We have our actual live play campaigns. And then Sundays, we have this podcast here that you are currently watching either live or otherwise. So be sure to check those out. And the rest of the information is down below, Discord, Twitter, all that stuff. If you want to send in questions to be answered during the bonus action section of the show. But until then, thank you all, and I don't know why you let me do the outro.
Nope, I'm going to
because
stop you
keep
right
the
there
discussion
because you
going.
forgot to mention. Nope, I'm interrupting him before it's all clear and day. The next week, keep an eye out. We are going to be tapping into the next previous Unearthed Arcana. It's the Sorcerer and the Warlock, specifically the Aberrant Mind, which actually is a class that we are allowing in one of our games, in my game Fate and Destiny right now. Kurry, you actually are playing one.
So congrats, Kurry. You have just signed up for next week.
I just volunteered.
You have been voluntold. You will be on next week.
Yep. And of course, there's also the Warlock one, which is, I have a feeling we are all on the same page. It's probably one of the coolest Warlock patrons, which is the Lurker in the Deep. So
I mean, if you look at my overlays and shit, I think you can tell I'm a bit of a fan of Lovecraft. So expect me just to for an hour be
Just
gushing about these
Yeah.
subclasses.
Yeah, we won't make our time quota on that episode because Bryce won't shut the fuck up. And of course, I think there's a cantrip in there that we can talk about as well. But yeah, stay tuned for that next week.
Keep discussion going.
Fuck. Why did I not stop it? All right.